Welcome. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to write up your t-test. So this Word document can be found on the Canvas assignment page, and it just gives you an example of one way to write up the results. I have a little scaffold here that you can use to write up the results for your Loftus replication results. And then here's just a second way to write up the results that I just demonstrated to you in the videos. So I'll take you through it using the scaffold. So the first thing you're going to do is change this highlighted information. So we want to determine, did we have a significant or not a significant difference? Were the means equal or were they unequal? So let's remind ourselves and go back to our data. This is our output. Here we have a P of 0.013. We determined earlier that 0.013 is definitely less than 0.05, so it is significant. So we had a significant difference between and our dependent variable. If you don't remember what your dependent variable is, you can go back to the data set. Here it says right here, higher rating, or you can go to the data and see here at the very end, it was higher rating. Let's just remind ourselves now of our two conditions, audio and transcript. So the significant difference between up above and below, I have higher ability, but I think I like higher ratings better. And then instead of between, I think I like in. So, sometimes you might need to change the vocabulary so it sounds grammatically correct. So significant difference in higher ratings was found using, and then what's the name of the statistical analysis we just did? Again, if you don't remember, this is our data. Remember, we click these little arrows, and here it says independent samples t-test. So name of the statistical test would be independent. And please note that T is always going to be italicized for t-test, and it's lowercase, even though it was capital on the output page. And grammatically correct would be using an independent samples t-test. Now we need the degrees of freedom. We go back here to our output. Here's our degrees of freedom. Remember, in a t-test, we're only going to have 1 degree of freedom. In an ANOVA, which we'll do later on, we will have 2. So that is going to be 37. And we're just going to replace that here. Note that this is italicized as well. Now we need that t statistic. I've already accidentally filled in the p-value for you, but I'll show you where that is. So the t statistic is going to be 2.620. We'll just go with 2.62. 2 decimals is sufficient unless you need more to demonstrate something particular. We already said that p-value we saw was 0.013. And note that you don't need a 0 before the decimal because a p-value will never be more than the value 1. Now, one little nuance that I did note is on the Canvas assignment page, the table shows a negative 2.62. I'm going to have to investigate and figure out what the difference is. That is important. It means it comes from the other side of the two-tailed test. But for now, because I want to get this up there for you to have for when classes start, I'm going to just roll with this. So now, so this first sentence is telling us what statistical analysis we did and presenting that t-statistic or later on an f-value for ANOVAs in proper APA format. Now, this next sentence is going to be telling us what those differences are and reporting the means and standard deviations. So more specifically, again, changing that to higher ratings. And we want to do condition 1's name. And we said it was an audio condition, but I liked calling it a verbal job pitch or instead of the audio condition. We could just say the higher ratings for the audio condition, but let's go with, and now we need to fill in condition 1 name, which we are calling the audio condition. We could say the higher ratings for the audio condition, but something that might be a little bit more descriptive would be the verbal job pitches. And then we need to decide, was it higher or lower than the higher ratings? And then here it was the transcript condition, but we can put the written job pitches as more descriptive. Now, and that was significantly higher than the higher ratings for the written job pitches. And we need that number, or those numbers I should say, 2.89 rounding up and 2.06, 2.89 and 2.06. So that sentence described the differences, reported the means and the standard deviations. Notice how these are all italicized, because letters representing statistical notations must be italicized. This last sentence is going to kind of give a summary or explain what the implications of those results are. Not a lot, because you'll go on in the discussion, which would follow, and kind of do a lot more of that. But here, we're just going to give a one sentence. These results suggest what? So these results suggest that a verbal job pitch more effective than a written job pitch. Now that's one way of interpreting the results. You can see up here I have that hearing a job candidate's voice can influence their perceived hireability, or that the vocal intonations heard in the verbal job pitch can be more influential than just reading the same job pitch. So again, because the more background you have on the study, the more you understand the study. And of course, when you're doing your own study, hopefully you'll really understand it. Kind of the better that little interpretation in that last sentence can be. So let's just read through it and make sure it makes sense. We want to get rid of all those highlights. I'm going to highlight the whole thing, go up to the highlighting thing and just say no color. So a significant difference in higher ratings was found using the independent samples t-test. We reported this t-statistic in APA format. More specifically, the higher ratings for verbal job pitches, presented the mean and standard deviations in parentheses, was significantly higher. I think we need to change this to were, because we have higher ratings. If I had higher ability, it could be were significantly higher than the higher ratings for the written job pitches. Mean and standard deviation in parentheses. These results suggest that a verbal job pitch was, we'll say was, keep it in past tense, more effective than a written job pitch. Or another way of, I'm not sure I quite like this. Another way is that the verbal job pitch, so we need to add something in about hireability here. It was more effective than a written job pitch in influencing higher ratings.